How we doing, everybody? And welcome to another visual episode of Craig McKim Networking. Now, this is a very special guest. It's a very special friend of mine. This is a wampum girl who made good and is in big time TV in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Now, for those of you who aren't from Pittsburgh that are watching, I'm going to just kind of cut to her and let her tell you who she is because she's going to do a much better job than I am. Now, over to you, Ashley.
Yeah, good morning to you. Nice to be here. So, a meteorologist in Pittsburgh, which is near our hometown, not, I guess you could call it our city, but I've been in Pittsburgh since 2012. Oh, wow, since 2012.
Oh,
But yeah, just here back home. So it's nice to be back with family and friends, but ready to go.
yeah, excellent, excellent. Now, there's been, we're going off script all of a sudden here. Back home, how did the pandemic, how did that, like, what did that, as far as I know, people were, I'm up in Cleveland, as you know, and everything was taking place at home. Some of it looks like it's still taking place at home. How does that affected you? I mean,
Yeah.
work, you just had a baby, not just, but
Yeah.
not that long
Yeah.
ago, right? So
No, being pregnant in a pandemic was and your first child was very interesting. But work-wise, in television, never in your life did you think you would be broadcasting from home. It was never even thought of. But
right.
a lot of us did. I mean, they were really trying to keep us all safe, but also it was important for us to get the information out for our viewers. So yeah, for about 3 months, I broadcasted in my basement, and a lot of our anchors were in their basement too. And just the hard part about working at home was I was the technician, I was the audio, lights. So it was like you have such a found respect for everybody that does that.
Sure.
And on top of it, trying to make sure I got on air, making sure because meteorologists, we have our own graphics system. We have our own. So I had 2 computers. We were tapping in remotely to the computer in the studio. So it's really cool technology.
Yeah.
I literally broadcasted off my phone. There's an app that they can use and it would tie into the satellite center. So it was neat, weird, but all at the same time, just a mix of emotion. And on top of it being newly pregnant.
Yeah,
so,
right. Nobody's stressed when they're pregnant, especially with their first child. No big whoop,
yeah.
Right?
In the middle of a global pandemic.
Right.
But yeah, and as soon as work found out I was pregnant, they wanted to keep me home because at the time, I mean, you didn't know about what the virus could do to anybody, let alone newly pregnant women.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
So that was interesting. But now we're all back in the studio, and so far, so good.
Yeah, sure. Okay, cool. Well, thanks for indulging me. That I just for whatever reason I just popped up. I'm like, I got to know. So, I mean, obviously, a meteorologist. How and when did you decide on meteorology?
Yeah. So, it's funny. In high school, I always knew I wanted to work in television. I just didn't know what aspect I wanted to do. I thought maybe I'll be a reporter, an anchor. And then as I went to college, I liked more of the behind the scenes. So directing and editing. So that's really what I wanted to do. But when I graduated college, that's when you're kind of like, well, what do I do next?
Right.
Crap. It was smooth sailing for 4 years. So I did a I did a post-grad internship in DC through Bethany College where I went, and it was free work, but as an internship, but it helped me, as you say, network and land my first job in television. And still at that time, I just wanted to get my foot in the door. So I was a production assistant for a political commentary, which I knew nothing about politics, like zero. But nice. I did, yeah. So I was just like, oh, I hope I don't have to know any of that. Like I could do the production side of it, which I did. I did a lot of the editing and putting the show together, shooting it, which was fun. Mm-hmm. And that kind of, when I was there, my supervisor, who was actually one of my best friends, she was maid of honor at my wedding. She was starting this meteorology program through Mississippi State and it was online learning. So that was kind of like newer technology then. Oh
Uh-huh.
gosh, back in 2006, if
Right,
I'm dating
right.
myself. Um, she said, you're always asking about this. And a lot of the meteorologists that were at the station are like, we don't know why you're not doing this. And I was like, you know what, I'll give it a try. I'll give it first semester. We'll see how it goes. I ended up loving it. And in TV, they will cancel a show at any time,
Mm.
so they canceled the show I worked for after a year. And I continued school, moved back home for a year, lived at home, worked at a local paving company as their receptionist while I was finishing school and looking for a job, and kind of landed one in Wheeling, West Virginia, which isn't too far from us. So all the whirlwind, that's kind of how I got into meteorology. Just someone saying, like, noticing that I was interested, but I just didn't have the courage to say, yeah, I think I want to do this. She's like, just give it a try. If you don't like it, then you just stop. Like, you know, but
So
yeah.
you were interested in TV from, from high school, or,
Mhm.
before. And so as far as being interested in meteorology, it took somebody observing you
Yeah.
to say, hey, here's what I'm noticing. Why don't you,
Mhm.
what do you think?
Yeah. And
Yeah.
it's funny because, like, even in high school, I mean, I went back to Mohawk and spoke before, and I don't know if you had Mrs. Fletcher, um, but she was an English teacher, and I was so bad at English. It didn't matter how hard I tried. It's just, some subjects are just not as easy for people,
Uh,
where like math and science, I still had to study. I wasn't one of those people that just like, never had to
mhm.
study, whatever. But um, I really like took to science and math. So it's almost like someone saw that in me and just
Mhm.
kind of like nudged me a little bit and was like, just give it a try. And that's all you need. I mean, like,
Yeah.
when I tell you, if I should try to find it. It's on VHS tape, which again, I don't even know if
You
no
can
one
find a
needs to know.
VCR. Yeah.
Yeah. My first resume tape, when they announced that they were canceling the show, it's like right when I started meteorology school.
Okay.
And I didn't have a resume tape. Like I wanted to work behind the scenes.
Uh-huh.
The meteorologists worked with me for 5 hours, and like I didn't know anything about meteorology, nothing, like no science behind it, because I was just started, like the
Hmm.
intro classes. And yeah, they helped me make a resume tape. And if you listen to it, my voice is so raspy because we did it for like 5 hours straight. They're like, you
Uh-huh.
just need like one tape. And then, as you continue to learn, it'll become easier. So yeah.
Yeah. No,
Oh,
so but your voice, would people take, and this, because I was just thinking about a friend of mine out in Vegas who kind of does local uh, uh, broadcasting a little bit, that goes out, does some reporting and things like that. She used to take voice lessons just so she could have a better speaking voice.
mhm.
Is that like a thing?
Well, in Wheeling, when I started there, they were like, you need to lose your Pittsburgh accent. And I was like, what Pittsburgh accent?
What are you talking about?
I was like, what are you talking about? So like they had someone like work with me, and
Hmm.
yeah, it's just like you don't realize it because you've, been in that area and everyone talks like you. And
Right.
sometimes it does come out on air, but I'm in
Sure.
Pittsburgh, so it doesn't matter.
Right. No, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I've gotten picked. Well, as you know, I was out west for
Oh yeah.
15, 18 years. And I would get pegged a lot.
Yeah.
But then I would come back home. I could hear it. But by the time I left after a week, I was back into it. And like
Back
you
into
you
it.
lose it. And I don't know that there was any, I don't know that I tried to, but that's
Yeah.
just, but still I would still get pegged. And I guess I didn't lose it. I lost it as far as I could hear. But somebody who was from Oregon or someplace that's not Pittsburgh would be like, you from Pittsburgh?
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, and at that point, might as well say yes, because nobody knows where Bessemer is, or nobody knows where,
Yeah.
nobody knows where
Any-
Wampum is.
yeah.
So
Anytime I say wampum, it's like,
yeah,
huh? I'm like, yeah, it's probably about 3 miles long, but still,
right, right, right,
it's a great little town.
right, for sure, for sure. So no, we know when, like you said, when you decided on TV. How did you decide on that? I mean, if can you differentiate, or was there just like you saw
Yeah,
somebody on, you saw another newscaster, you saw an actor, an actress, like what?
Yeah, it's
Why
like
TV?
I've always been drawn to the news, even as like a kid. So I was always fascinated with it. Even the weather too. I just kind of never was always afraid to go down that road, I don't think.
Okay.
But yeah, I just remember just being like seeing it, seeing some of the anchors, just going, I'm gonna do that one day. Like it was just in my head. And like not everybody has that, like when they go to college, I can't believe I have nieces and nephews that are even near that age now.
Yeah,
But I
yeah,
do. And
yeah,
it's like, a lot of them don't know what they want to do. And I'm just like, I was never like that. I always knew what field, I just didn't know the department, I guess you could say, that I was gonna go in. But I knew that's what I was gonna do. I just
yeah,
hands down, there was no other option for me.
yeah.
So I feel
It's
lucky in that way. But
absolutely like I didn't get myself on the path that feels the most comfortable
mhm.
till 4 years ago, 5 years ago,
Yeah.
something like that. I had already done. Hey, or I'm sorry, I had always done a lot of marketing. Now, you would not have been, of the age to have this of interest at the time. But when I was in high school, as I graduated with your brother,
Yeah.
um, it, there was a lot. I had a lot of parties, and or I would say a lot. I don't know what a lot is, but I mean, but I like to bring people. I like to bring people together, right? I was never entrepreneurial about it. I never, I was never like taking covers at the door or anything like that, because there's plenty of parties that I went to that were like that. And it was always about, for me, it was like bringing people together,
Mhm.
which is, is like networking, but then there's like the marketing part of it, because then you're telling people about your party and like, hey,
Yeah.
bring a friend and stuff like that. And I kind of pushed that back for, I don't know, 20 years,
Yeah.
and I, even when I was pursuing law enforcement, and I'm still doing the security thing and protection, I was always like, like kind of halfway in, which
Yeah.
you never do well, because I had this other interest. Well, now I've, again, still doing the security, but now I'm actually like pursuing, not halfway in, like all the way in, just trying to navigate myself through, through that whatever.
Yeah.
Um, and I didn't. So I thought I knew what I wanted to do. Like my brother is a cop, and my dad was, and so
Yeah.
and not that they ever pressured me, and that I thought, but I guess I kind of thought like it's in my blood, so
Yeah.
that's what I want to go do. But it, and it took me however long it took me for me to figure it out on my own, because there was people that brought it to me like, you should, you kind of like, you sure, this is it, and
Yeah. I know. It's just
whatever, and
wow.
then what's that?
It's wild. Like
Yeah.
people see it and they
Yep.
just mhm.
But you knew from the word, from jump, like this is what I want to do. And I think, I'm a little bit envious of that, because I personally, and I fight this feeling, but I feel I'm a little bit like I'm behind.
Yeah.
But then I remind myself, like, no, you needed to go through all that to get to where you are now, where you feel most comfortable,
Yeah.
and you enjoy the process. It's not easy. Like this entrepreneurial life, kind of, I mean, it sucks from time to time, or often, but I'd rather do that.
Mhm.
So
It's
anyway,
good to get uncomfortable.
100%,
It is. It
100%.
helps you
Yeah.
grow as a person. And,
Hmm.
and that's what I mean. It wasn't supposed to be just, you were supposed to go through all that, It's like,
Yep.
I'm sure you learned and picked up certain things that are going to help you as you continue to do all this.
100%. Oh, yeah. And when I keep getting put in front of other people that I listen to, like your Tom Bilyeu's and Gary Vaynerchuk, and, like all those guys, everybody's like, yeah, uncomfortable is where you have to live,
Hmm.
because it's all, once you're comfortable, like you're not growing anymore. And so like,
Yeah, that's
okay, like, you did constant reminder of that. So
it.
yeah. So I was gonna about to ask you, what did you aspire to as a kid? So I mean, obviously you knew, in high school, before that, was there anything that, can you recall anything that you wanted to do other than what you're doing?
Um, I can't, I can't think of anything. I'm like trying to like
Yeah.
go back. You know what? There is. I thought I wanted to be a nurse,
Okay.
pediatric nurse. I remember
Oh,
this
okay.
when I
Yeah.
was 15,
Uh-huh.
14, 15 maybe. And I got to do like a job shadowing. I forget, Mohawk like set up something. And
Hmm.
I just remember being in the hospital. And I was like, I could never work like this. And I admire like everyone that can. Like it is like truly like just an amazing job. But I knew that like within 5 minutes, I was like, yep, nope. That's about it.
Good.
That's
Good.
about it.
Yeah.
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 And I always like kind of knew I wanted to do I was always fascinated with television but it's, and I will say this, my mom and I always laugh. When I was starting meteorology school, no parent wants you to go into debt. Like, I had just graduated from college, I was blessed that they were able to help me a bit, still had
Yeah.
a little bit of student loans
Hmm.
and 3 years part-time schooling. And my parents were like, you get 4 years and that's it. Like, you're on your own after that.
Yeah. Yeah.
My mom tried to talk me out of going to meteorology school just because she didn't want me to go into like debt. And, when I didn't have a job and I was still doing school and she's just like,
Yeah.
are you sure? Are you sure? And we laugh about it now. She's like, I know. She's like, I wasn't looking at the big picture. She's like, I was just looking at like, I don't want to see you go into more debt. But really that debt helped me launch where I am today. Otherwise,
Yeah.
wouldn't
Yeah.
be where I am.
It's well, and meteorology, it's not nursing, it's not finance, it's not accounting, it's kind of an unknown.
Mhm.
And what can you do with, meteorology, it's kind of specific as to where you can go if you're staying, degree specific or training specific, whereas like finance, you could go be a cop, because
Yeah.
they like people with numbers, or you could go be an accountant, maybe you can. I mean, there's all kinds of different ways you go, but like meteorology is like,
That's it.
and it's like when I went to protection, like to like bodyguard school, it's like there's a school for that. Like, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
there's a school for that. So, and it's an unknown, and my mom grew up in the same area that your mom grew up in. So
Yeah.
it's like, that's weird. You want
Yeah.
to be in meteorology. Okay. Like, it's not the teacher. Are you sure?
Yeah.
So
Teacher, nurse, kind of like what
yeah.
they're used to. Yeah. So we still laugh about that. But I get what she was trying to do, but just I
Sure.
knew in my gut, like once I got that push to go in that direction, that was it.
Yeah.
I wasn't settling. So
Yeah. Good on you. Like, I wasn't settling. Good. Yeah.
yeah.
That's good. So how do you know that, you're going to have the chops for TV, or to be on TV? I mean, being whether it's behind the scenes or on camera, like how do you know, or do you just, if you're not going to settle, I guess you just work until you do. I don't
Yeah.
know. So
Yeah, and
say,
TV, I guess like too, everyone thinks it's so glamorous. And they think we have these makeup and hair people that come in, like that's only network. Like network, but like, LA might do it, like some of
Mhm.
like the top 5 markets might do
Yeah,
it.
big markets, sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Pittsburgh's a top 25 market, but
Uh-huh.
still it's just that's not the way it is. It's very there's no good shift. I mean, I'm up at 1:30, 2 a.m.
I was
every day.
wondering that. I'm glad you answered
Yeah.
that, because I wanted to ask that. I would have forgotten. I would have hated myself for that. But yeah,
And
okay.
you're
So you're up at
putting
1:30.
makeup
Oh,
on. Yeah, you're putting makeup on at like 2 a.m. and you're just like, what is going on? But it's like we all laugh because we really love what we do. And I
mhm.
think, and my husband and I talk about this all the time. If you don't love what you do, you're going to be so miserable.
So
And it's like,
miserable.
yeah, there's some days where I'm like, oh, I don't want to get up. But at the end of the day, like I can't imagine doing anything else. So it's just, TV is not that glamorous, but
Right.
it can be fun and exciting. And I never bring my work home. It's like my work is so right now.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah. Yeah.
so it's like when I'm done at the end of the day, I'm done. Now the only exception would be severe weather or like winter storms. If we're looking ahead, kind of
Mhm.
like, all right, we prepare for that. And but I still don't bring anything home. It's just,
Yeah.
kind of with the team, we're kind of collaborating on how we're going to cover it. So
Sure. Yeah.
yeah, which is
That's
nice. I literally am done. Once I'm
uh
done, I'm done.
yeah. Yeah. That's cool. Well, and just on this interview, you talk about, not glamorous.
Yeah.
You get shoved into a side room.
I
because
know. My
your
son
family's
has
got to
taken,
live, right?
the little 7-month-old has literally taken over the entire house. I got pushed in the spare bedroom, which is okay.
Yeah,
Let him do
yeah,
his thing. But yeah,
yeah. That's cool. So tell us something little, I guess, unknown about the process of putting on the news, like something that you don't hear every day. And I mean, you said it's not glamorous. You're doing your own makeup at 2 in the morning, like at 2 in the morning.
yeah.
You know, like, yeah, I guess I wouldn't have thought that. I probably had the same assumption that everybody else did, is that, oh, you drive in and everything gets done for you, and not necessarily the case. So what's something else that you can share that's kind of like
A
that?
lot of folks write to me about my wardrobe, asking me like, we have image consultants and talent coaches that come in once a year. So you have to have a thick skin, number one, because
Right.
yeah, I mean, and I love working with the talent coach because I'm like, just tell me what I can improve on. Like, I don't want to hear what I'm doing good at,
Yeah.
tell me what needs work, because I don't take it as an insult. I just look at it as bettering myself. Is it difficult to hear sometimes? Sure. Image
Yeah.
consultant. I mean,
Yeah.
they like own our look. They could
Uh-huh.
tell me to cut my hair, put it a different color. So all of that stuff. A lot of people don't really know that. And they tell us what colors look best on us, and kind of, they give us like a guideline. We do not get our clothes for free. We have to buy all of our own clothing. Um, and the thing is too, like there's a lot that goes into as a meteorologist, I do my own forecasting. I build my own graphics. I'm like a one-man band, which I prefer,
Mhm.
because I'm, telling people what I see for the daily forecast. But with news, they have producers and people that write the scripts. And at least with us at WTAE, everything has to be fact checked twice. If
Mhm.
you only got it confirmed once, you still cannot go on air with it. We have to get it fact checked twice, which
Mhm.
I love about our station.
Yeah.
So, there's no false information going on air, but it's very fast paced. And then when you have breaking news, those anchors are reading on the fly. They are seeing what the viewers are seeing on TV, and
Mhm.
they're literally just, information will be coming into their IFBs, and they're regurgitating it out. If the producers learn anything from the reporters that may be on the ground. So it's all just very, very fast paced.
Uh-huh.
And there's so many sometimes like uh, things that could go wrong in the newscast, but you'll never see it on air. Like
Sure.
technical things could go wrong, but
Uh-huh.
you try to keep it as clean as possible. So
Yeah.
there can be a lot of mayhem, but a lot of the viewers will never notice. But if you're like someone in television, you're watching the show and you can watch it, like a chyron come up wrong. Some people
Yeah.
maybe never notice that, but we're like, oh, they had the wrong color banner. Like, but
Yeah.
people don't notice that at home. So
Well, and and who knew there was a wrong color banner? Like that's not something that I would think about.
yeah,
I kind of want to take a step back here, and you talk about, should my hair be a different color? Not my hair, your hair. Should your hair be a different color? What to wear, all this stuff. Now, how do they base that? Is that based on like, I mean, is it based on like I mean, it's based on the person, but like, is there like based on age, based on area, based on time of year? Like, is there any of that that goes into it where it's like, it's wintertime, so you should really be wearing, this, or it's summer and your hair should look like this, or is there anything like that?
You know what? I'm not sure about that, but I will say, we have different um, image consultants. We worked with one for a good like 7 years, and then we just switched to a new one. She comes in from New York. But the old one, I can say, in a steel city that constantly wears black and yellow, she tried to tell us never to wear black or yellow. I'm like, you
Uh-huh.
don't understand. Like,
That's not,
that's
it's
that's
not,
like
it's an
that's like,
impossibility.
yeah. So like sometimes I don't think like she didn't really know the area, where
Uh-huh.
our new one really understands how Pittsburgh is, and she took the time to learn the area. So I think a lot of it has to do with the area. I think they don't want us all to look the same either.
Mhm.
So my hair is probably the longest out of everyone on the show.
Uh-huh.
They haven't told me to cut it yet because everyone else has more medium short hair. So you don't want everyone looking like
Sure.
exactly the same.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
And I think it goes on your body type too. Like that's kind of how anything that will flatter you, that's kind of what they want. And like certain colors I do know don't look the best on me. And like, her and I see eye to eye. I'm like, yeah, I try to never wear like an orange, I don't know, sometimes like a burnt orange can look weird on me. I'm like, yeah, I try not to do that. So,
right. Yeah. And of course, like you want to look your best as well, so it's not like, not just for the news, not just for the news or the network or the station. It's like, this is also me.
And that's another thing too. Like I can say, people will, when I say thick skin, I mean, I get critiqued on the way I look on a daily basis. 95% of them, very kind. 5%, not so kind. So it's like, you just kind of have to own who you are. And we're really in anything, but TV can just exacerbate it.
Sure. Well, it's brutal. You're getting judged. I literally, my networking class, I talk about that. I'm like, we don't, we shouldn't, and nobody else should, but we judge, like we are judged and we judge on how we look. I mean, just like you walk into a room and you start looking around, like, what does this room look like?
Yeah.
And oftentimes it starts from here up. And I talk about smiling, like you need to, when you're meeting people, when you're networking, like have a smile on your face, make sure it's authentic. None of like just teeth stuff, like have an authentic smile. And so, but I got to think, when you're on TV, you're getting judged on whatever the camera can see or whatever the people can, whatever the camera's catching. So is it here? Yeah, it's here. But then everything else matters too.
Yeah. And I agree with that smile thing, because you don't want to come off cold. Like I would never, like anytime I'm at a speaking event or conference or something, if someone's just standoffish, I'm not going to waste my time going over, because I don't want to be put in an uncomfortable situation. I'm not going to like do that to myself.
Well, and that's the thing. It's like, you don't know. And that person, they may not be cold. They may be nervous.
Yeah.
And so that's a hard thing to me. When I'm nervous, well, when you smile, like you literally like scientifically proven, like you elevate your mood and you decrease stress.
Yeah.
And that's the last thing people are thinking about when they're stressed. Is like, I should smile.
Let me smile.
But it definitely does that. It's like you see the person who looks cold. Yeah. I mean, you can't control what people think, feel, or do, but you can give yourself the best opportunity for success. Right.
Yeah.
So, yeah. All right, let's get back to these questions here. I love, like I said, when off recording it, we could just sit here and BS for the next hour. And that would have been fantastic. But there's some value to the folks here. How does one go about finding work on TV or in the news, and does networking play a part? And you kind of touched on it a ways back when you were in college. You're talking about DC. And so does networking play a part? And if it does, how?
Yeah. I mean, the biggest thing in television is you're selling yourself. And I guess that's with any job, but like, especially if you're on air, like you are the product. So that's like the biggest thing. But yeah, networking's huge. I mean, when I first started, well, I should say when I worked in Wheeling, I got approached. Someone knew me from the station I worked at, WTRF. Someone used to work there. They still lived back in Wheeling and worked in Pittsburgh, and said, you know what? I've been watching you. We're looking for a freelancer at KDK. What do you think? And I just, and we continued to talk. He actually helped me get into Pittsburgh. So for 2 years, I would be Monday through Friday in Wheeling, and most weekends, morning and night shift on Saturdays and night shift on Sunday in Pittsburgh. And turn around and go back. But I was also like 25. So
just ripping through that.
Yeah,
2 hours of sleep. Good.
Yeah. Like you didn't need sleep in your 20s. But like that kind of helped me network. And then when this job opened up at WTA, I started weekend mornings. I actually had chief, who's still our chief, Mike Harvey, reach out to me and say, hey, we're looking for someone, send your stuff over. And that was, I felt like, okay, all of that hard work paid off, like meeting people, just at a smaller station. And then when I started at WTAE, I mean, I went and did every event possible. One, because I liked helping charity, and
Hmm.
two, because it helps you get to know people and
Hmm.
get your name out there. And I did that for a long time. Now with Hayden, I've had to cut back, and obviously a global pandemic, but
Yeah,
uh,
that soured
yeah,
some things for
but
sure.
now it's like, I do as much as I can. I try to help as many people as I can. But yeah, it was like a grind,
Yeah,
That's what it is. It's grinding. It's
it's it's
networking. And
it's working. Like so many
Mhm.
people forget that part of it.
Yeah,
It's you go out to network.
yeah,
There's an organization out there called BNI, or Business Networking International, um, and that's like you don't net sit, you don't net eat, you net work.
yeah,
And you can go out and hand out business cards, and you go out and you get to know people. But the important part of that is like you get, I can say I know a lot of people, and that's great. I met this person. Yeah, I know them, or I may, and maybe not. At you can say like celebrities, like yeah, everybody knows them, but the people that are in your day to day,
hmm,
or maybe not in your day to day, but you know them. But when you're networking, the important part is that they know you.
yeah,
So if you're selling your business, or like what it is you do for a living, in your case, you said you're selling yourself.
yeah,
You're the product. So you know did you know Mike Harvey? Maybe you knew who he was, but he had gotten to know you
yeah,
through watching you work in this
mhm.
case. And when you go out to all the celebrity, or I'm sorry, uh,
Charity.
all the events, all the charity events, yeah, the people are getting the chance to know you, and in a market where you're the face every day, it's important that they get to know you. They have to trust. They have to trust you. You're the
Yeah,
one who's delivering that stuff that's going to affect them every day.
has a big
So
impact. Yeah, and I will
yeah,
say, all of that hard work, and I still do it. I still like try to sell myself, but like now I can kind of pay it forward. So when a
yeah,
charity or someone who's in need or anything wants to help get their voice out, I can help them do that, which is like extremely fulfilling.
hmm,
Um, especially I work a lot with the animal groups, a lot of the animal rescues. That's a big passion of mine.
yeah,
So it's
yeah,
um, helps me help them. Also, I work with a veterans group, so helping our local veterans who deserve everything,
yeah,
even their families. All of that is a sacrifice. So it helps me help them even more now. So which is extremely fulfilling.
yeah, yeah. Um, yeah. Grounds and Hounds. Grounds and Hounds.
Grounds and Hounds is actually it's a local guy
Uh huh.
who sells organic coffee, but 20% of his proceeds go to local rescues. So
Right.
he helps out the humane animal rescue,
Uh huh.
and then also animal friends too. So all of that. But yeah, if you're a big coffee lover, as you say, you should look them up.
Yeah. Well,
That's
I
what I'm
remember
drinking right now.
it was it
Yeah.
was years ago that you were, I think you were live, I think you were on air. It might have been your Facebook, I don't remember. It was a few years ago, but anyway, it popped up on my Facebook, and I was on computer, and I clicked on it, and buy these diner mugs. So I bought a diner mug, and I was thrilled with it because it was great, and it was hefty and all that stuff. And I don't know, like 4 days later I broke it or something like that. I'm just like, that's about right. But
Yeah, he's
yeah.
a Pittsburgh guy from Shaler
Hmm.
area. And yeah, he just had two loves. He loved rescue animals and coffee, and
Yeah.
he put them together, and he's doing very well and giving back too. So
Yeah. That's awesome. That's awesome. Um, so how did you, or how do you approach networking? Kind of like, and I think you kind of explained it just now, but like then, early stages career versus now. And like I said, I think you kind of
yeah.
answered that already, but I mean, do you have anything specific you wanted to, that you're able to say there?
I think too, like the thing is, like I would look for events. Um,
Hmm.
so people should, if anyone's just new and just trying to like meet people or whatever, go on and look at like, I think charity events are like the big ones where a lot of people come together because one, they want to give back, and two, it's just a nice way to meet other people. And that's when you always just kind of have your business card in hand, because you will meet people. I mean, it's just a given.
Yeah.
And a lot of people with big influence go to a lot of these charity events. So
Right.
it's a
Yeah.
nice way to do that. So, I think if anyone, it's like I mean, everything's so accessible online now. Big events going on, or if you're interested in certain charities sometimes, or certain specific, how should I say, certain groups, like say you want to support the veterans, say local veteran charities. And, a lot of them now are, now that we're kind of slowly getting back to semi-normal,
Right.
a lot of them are starting to have their events again. And that's when you say, okay, I'll buy a ticket, it's going to be helping someone. And then, yeah, I can do it. And a lot of that too is tax write-off. So if you're like financially, I'm like, oh no, I don't, at least, when you're giving back to someone, you can at least kind of help yourself at the end of the year.
Yeah. No, yeah, for sure.
Financially.
Yeah. And when I think, there's really something to that, because, if you're coming at it pure of heart too, not like I'm going to go to a charity event so I can meet people, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. Like I don't want that to be a thing, but like you're going because you believe in supporting the vets, or you believe in the shelters, you believe in helping, whatever it is. Do you actually believe that? Because people smell BS a mile away. If you walk in and now you're just hobnobbing or handing out cards, just trying to get to someone. And I was there's an interview.
You gotta be passionate about it. You gotta want to, you gotta have a heart.
Yeah, no, for sure. Yeah. There was an interview that I listened to, that it was with Gary Vaynerchuk. He was interviewing Scooter Braun. Now, Scooter Braun is like a music manager. He manages, at one point, I don't know who his client list is now, but it was Bieber and Demi Lovato, and I think Ariana Grande. And like, so he's like big time into music. He was, he made it big in Atlanta. He was like part of So Def before they really blew up. But he talks about being on the grind. He's like, when you're networking, and he didn't say networking, but he's like, a lot of times people are always trying to get to someone. You're trying to get to someone instead of kind of building with people that are around you. You're trying to, you weren't necessarily trying to get to Mike Harvey, for example. Like, but you were just, working and talking to the people that you were kind of in the game with, and when he, like, at some point somebody's going to be trying to get to Ashley, right? But he's like, that's not really the answer. It's like, with the people that are around, the people that are going to be around, the people that you're, that I don't want to say that you're on the same level with, because I don't necessarily believe in all that, but like, where are you, and who are the people that you're interacting with the most, or who are the people that you could be interacting with the most? That's who you want to.
And kind of like how you had pointed out, like people can smell BS a mile away. People can also smell when they're being used. Like, you kind of like, like you said, you have to be genuine about it. And there's nothing wrong with networking. There's nothing wrong with, but you have to be genuine about it, and like, I'm glad you pointed that out about like, you really should, like, if you're passionate about something, like with me, animal rescue, veterans, like that's what I really, really love. So that's what, I stick with. And
it comes through too. I mean, even when you're on camera for it, there's, you can tell when somebody's telling you or when somebody's expressing to you. Like, and I think that's where it comes through, with anybody, obviously for you, I sensed that when you were talking about, like when we were talking about the coffee mug, that's real. It's real to you. So, this is something I think I probably already, we probably already covered, but like for someone in your position, how important is networking for your career? Like, you got it, you're networking and to kind of find the job, and you found one, not I would say inadvertently, but inadvertently maybe networking. And does it, I guess maybe a better question is, how does networking affect you, or how does it affect, like you talked about paying it forward? Maybe talk about that for, a second again, without, I know I'm kind of being redundant here, but we're just kind of leading,
Yeah.
leading answers to questions. And all right, well, but yeah, what else can you say there?
Yeah. So, it's true about like how we talked about, I went to a lot of these events, and some of them too, I went because our company has, uh, I shouldn't say, our company like WTA will like sponsor an event, or they're part of like working with a certain group. And so a lot of those I went with that. But at the same time, again, it helps like when you do meet people, and you build a friendship, you build even just a work-based relationship where could have cocktail hour or anything. um, it helps to pay it forward, because in turn, if they need help with something, you can help them. Like with me, like I try now, if someone's like, hey, do you mind posting this and helping me get the word out, like I now feel like I've built enough where I can post something and it will reach a lot of people and help them, which social media can be so terrible, but it can be so wonderful. It can
Absolutely.
be an amazing thing. And I think, that's what helps me pay it forward, by helping them that way.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Well, and I'm a recipient. Hey, Ashley, would you mind doing this? Would
Yeah.
you mind doing this podcast and this interview with me? Absolutely. Like there was, I don't know if there was any hesitation, but like by the time I got the text, it was like, hell yeah, I'll do that. So
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
appreciate it.
Yeah. It's
If I don't
great. I
say
mean, that's what, and it's like, you want to help people. Why
Mhm.
not? Like, this is such a great topic.
Yeah.
Like, and I think a lot of people, and that's like some one thing too, like, especially when you're starting out, like, you're like, I don't know what to do. Like, where do I even start? Like, everything is like so up in the air. And it's like,
hmm
how do I even network? I don't even know. Like, yeah, where do I go? What do I do?
Yeah.
It's like so confusing. And I
Yeah.
think what you're doing is wonderful, because it does like teach people.
I
Kind of wish I
appreciate it.
had it.
Yeah. Well, you know what?
Right?
That's how it started. The school the protection school that I went to, in 1999, they were like, like how do you find work in an industry like this?
Yeah,
Because it is niche. I mean, it's super niche. There's not. I mean, there's the security industry as a whole, and that can range anywhere from cybersecurity to locks on a door,
yeah,
and anything in between. And the answer was, we go out and network. Now, like, okay, well, what
yeah.
is that?
What do you
Well, you
mean?
just go out and talk to people. Well, which was about the worst advice I'd ever gotten. And
Yeah,
I lived in Bessemer. There was
yeah. I
1,500
mean,
people.
and
Like,
like
that's not
we're
it.
small town people. I mean,
Yeah,
like we weren't exposed to. I mean, like Pittsburgh was like a huge city when I was
sure.
and
Yeah,
it's still like a pretty big city, but then you go to like the LAs and New
yeah,
York, and you're just like, no, that's a big city.
yeah,
Like that's
yeah,
like overwhelming.
yeah, yeah. Well,
Uh,
Vegas was, coming from,
oh yeah,
from Bessemer going to Vegas. I mean, it was or Newcastle or Youngstown.
yeah,
Going to Vegas was eye opening, to say,
yeah.
to put it nicely,
But I'm
for
sure
one.
like you can say this too, like I wouldn't have wanted to grow up any other way.
Yeah.
Like
Oh yeah.
I love being from a small town.
Mhm.
I mean, that kind of taught me like how you help people, because our neighbors, you know,
Yeah.
everyone helped each other. And
Yeah.
I had friends who grew up in like cities are like, no, I didn't even talk to my next door neighbor. I'm like, I
Yeah.
can't even fathom that.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I just
My,
can't, I just don't understand that.
yeah. My next door neighbor. I mean, she was. I mean, she was 60, I think, when I was born. She made it to 93.
Wow.
But this Italian lady who would, what do you do, when you're Italian and you live where we live, what happens? Well, your neighbors get sauce, or they
Yeah,
get
I just say
meatballs that you
food.
made, or that they, or there's something like you. So
Yeah,
we were flush. My family was flush with great sauce, great meatballs. Like that was, and
yeah,
it wasn't for payment. It was, here, I made this,
yeah.
have some. It was just like
Mhm.
offered up. And
I want
so,
you to enjoy this.
yeah, I
Yeah.
want you to
I think
enjoy
that,
this.
yeah, like I'm sure you could say like that taught us how to be compassionate.
Mhm.
be, help your neighbor kind of
Yeah.
thing. So we already started off good that way. But then
Yeah.
again, talking about open like networking, that's like, what? Like, I
Right. Yeah. I don't
didn't know
even,
what that
yeah.
was.
Didn't even know. And I was thinking, and you do it. And it's always it's been inherent to me for
Mhm.
whatever reason. I knew it was always good to know other people.
Mhm.
Um, and not so much to let them get to know me, but it was just like, I felt it was like good if I wanted to go someplace, not so much that I wanted them to necessarily do something, but just like to have almost like it's like a point of contact. Like I know the manager at the restaurant.
Yeah.
Okay. I took time to get to know that person because I want to know them when I walk in. I don't maybe it's a little bit of like a norm
Yeah.
complex. Like you walk into some place that, everyone knows your name and I don't know, maybe that's just because where we're from.
Yeah.
I don't know how to explain that, but it's always like I've always kind of felt that way about it.
Mhm.
So what else has there been anything else that you have gained from networking? Like take away work and things like that. Has there been anything in your life that had from networking came a hobby, came something that you really enjoy doing, came a husband, right?
I
Anything like that?
Networking definitely helped me meet my husband
Yeah.
because um, I met a friend of mine through another friend again. And then we were actually in a wedding together. And she said, I know someone that you should meet. And it was like, she's like, it was her boss's best friend. And, if just all of that, like if it all wouldn't have like come together. And I got married later in life. I have a child later in life, which I'm fine with.
Yeah.
But if that wouldn't have like, networking and meeting people and being in a wedding together with her too, like what are the odds of that happening?
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then like just saying randomly, like, there's someone I really think you should meet. And she had only met Bobby, my husband, I think maybe once at they were at like a charity walk. So
Uh-huh.
that's how she met him.
Uh-huh.
She was at the walk with her boss, like as a company, they went. And yeah, I mean, it took us probably after she said that, it probably took us 3 months to get our schedules in line to
Right.
meet.
Sure. Sure. Yeah.
But yeah, and
Yeah.
now here I am.
Now, yeah, now some people might, argue that, well, that was kind of meant to be like that person happened to be and I twist everything around to match my narrative as far as networking goes. Like, oh yeah, of course it was networking. See, like, you meet your, your soulmate, your lover, your best friend, all that stuff through networking. Is it or
I think
not?
it's a
I
little
mean,
bit of both. I think it
yeah,
was,
I think
you
so
know,
too. Yeah.
and
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
certain people were put in your lives for a reason, and
Mhm.
sometimes they're extended periods of time, sometimes they're short periods of time, and
Yeah.
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 But
Well, and that's how like I ended up where I am, and not to get into all the bits about that. It was like I can trace back what a conversation led me to
yeah.
and how I got back a lot closer to home.
Hmm.
And it was because I went and I did this. Well, I networked. Well, I think I've told you about Red Carpet VIP. Like, when I was with them, I got to them through I was at Studio 54 at the MGM in Vegas.
Hmm.
Well, you know, I met the owner of the company and we got to be buddies and I went to work for them. But to get to the MGM, I was networking without really knowing it I was in security with their supervisor
Yeah.
like kind of like a separate incident. And how did I get there? Like, I was working at another club. Well, how did you get there? Well, I guess
Yeah.
that would be like a family friend, in the Bixlers.
Hmm.
They're like our families have been tight for, that was a high school, for those of you who don't know who that is, that
Yeah.
was a high school teacher of ours. Our families have been tight for like long before I had come
I
along.
haven't heard that name in so long.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Wow.
So yeah, well, I'll tell you more about them offline here.
Yeah.
But their daughter was out in Vegas. She had met her husband on a cruise ship. They were both. He was a car dealer, and she was like a real deal dancer. She went to Point Park actually.
Yeah.
So she had gone out. She was out doing that, but anyway, she was like, you got to come out to Vegas. You got to come out to Vegas. You got to come out to Vegas. And was that networking? I can make that stretch, sure. But but from that point on, like once I got there, that's how it kind of all worked.
I
So
think too, it's important, like, change can be scary, whether you're networking, but it's like, it's okay to move because you can always come back home. Like that's the one thing.
always, I've done
Always
it.
come
I don't
back
know how
home.
many times.
Yeah. And it's just like, you listen to your instinct, just kind of,
Yeah.
I think
Here's
that
where I need to be now.
don't like let your fears hold you back from where you could grow. And, I think that's important.
Yeah, well, 100%. And it's anytime we a lot of times we will dress it up as something else. Oh, it just
Mhm.
doesn't make sense right now. It's like, and I've said that too. It's it's all fear. It's unknown, and varying levels. Not panic, but it's just like it's the I don't know what to expect, or I don't know what's going to happen. Well, yeah, none of us do. I mean, we have a pretty good idea. We get in a routine, but butterfly effect type stuff and all that, like you just don't know. So
Yeah.
like you said, kind of trust your instinct, and again, you can always take a step back. You don't always have to push forward. You don't have to remain stagnant, because that's remaining stagnant. So
Mhm.
go on and on about that.
Yeah.
What would be, is from your perspective, top 3 networking tips of in general, if you want, or getting on on TV or on the news, like what would you say that you should be doing?
Should be doing. So say someone like, okay, I want to work in television. What do I have to do? The biggest thing is, well, and in TV too, I have an agent. I just got one probably 4 5 years ago. So I didn't have one in the beginning. But even like starting out small, like that's one thing about agents. They can do a lot of the like job searching, which can be a little bit of a headache
Yeah.
in any job. But it's just you have to not be afraid to make no money starting out. Like
Right.
you cannot be afraid to move.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because you have to start. I lucked out starting in Wheeling like
Yeah.
that. I mean,
You really
and
did. Yeah.
honestly, you know why they gave me the job interview? Because I went to Bethany College. And Bethany is near Wheeling, and Bethany was considered like a prestigious school.
Sure.
And they were like, you know what? She has a Bethany degree, and she's working. So like just having the simplest thing of where I went to college, like you just
That
never
Bethany
know.
network.
Yeah,
Really.
you just
Yeah.
never know what. Yeah. Oh gosh, yeah. And
Yeah.
that's one thing too. Like tap into your network group, your alumni group. That's
Yeah.
huge.
Yep. For sure.
But yeah, it's just, especially in television, you don't make any money when you first start.
Yeah.
That's a sacrifice.
Yeah.
You probably have to move to a small town in the Midwest, which is fine,
Yeah.
but sacrifice. And
Yeah.
then, it's just constantly selling yourself. You
Yeah.
are the product.
Mhm.
And I say this, like, you really have to love it. You have to be able to ask the uncomfortable questions. You have to be able to have someone critique you head to toe. And
Yeah.
and with the media nowadays, I mean, we are constantly ridiculed for doing our jobs, and
Mhm.
you're going to be put in uncomfortable situations and having to go out and do that uncomfortable asking, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
If you're in the news side, meteorology
Yeah.
side, it's more of like covering the severe weather damage
Yeah.
where locally here we have a lot of flooding, and it can be heartbreaking too,
Yeah.
like trying to keep your composure when someone just lost everything. So
Yeah.
it's just
Yeah.
kind of that, like, and it's just like you're gonna meet people when you're out in the field, and you may go one day, you know what, I don't think I want to do this anymore. I met someone in this business, and I think that piques my interest. Like you're gonna meet people from all different aspects of the job force. So
Sure. Yeah. No. Well, yeah. Absolutely. That was always a thing I like to point out. During my seminars, like networking is such a learning possibility. Like I
mhm,
mean, just let's call it an event. Like you walk into a room, walk into a charity event of all these people, literally different shapes, sizes, colors.
mhm,
Socioeconomic background, upbringing, faith, no faith, where they went to school, and that's just that's just the base of stuff. Like there's so much to learn in a room full of strangers. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know how, like, people that don't like, I don't understand people who don't like networking.
Yeah.
Clearly, like, I mean, it's just
Yeah.
like, it doesn't compute. But I can understand it. I mean, you get those the introvert types, or they're just a little shy, or a little unsure of, like, what is networking? What do I have to do? And like, you don't have to do anything, but
And you can be an introvert. Like my husband and I always laugh, like we're extremely introverted.
mhm.
And you wouldn't think that, but
No, yeah,
but
yeah.
you can be an introvert and still, be an extrovert at times, I guess. It's
Well,
just
it's a situational extrovert, or like, what they call an ambivert, things like that, of where you just kind of adjust to where you are. The founder of Business Networking International, his name is Ivan Meisner, Dr. Ivan Meisner, who's from Pittsburgh, funny enough.
Mhm.
He talks about being a
Introvert.
situational extrovert.
Oh
Because
yeah.
otherwise he likes to be within himself. But when he's out
Same.
in people, and I'm like, that's me. Like
Yeah.
I can sit and work in my office, or my home office all day.
Yeah.
But I'm
And I don't think,
just as
like,
happy to
sometimes
go out
I think
otherwise.
introvert gets mixed up with like people not being kind or not wanting to be around other people. That's not
No,
it at all. It's just
no,
you're okay, like being in your own confinement.
yeah,
Where like with the situational extrovert, or it's
yeah,
yeah, like, and that's the thing. Like sometimes I do like, I love going out, but mainly it's just we always laugh. We're like, yeah, we're definitely introverts, and people are like, there's no way. I'm like,
right,
oh yeah,
yeah. They
there's
don't
definitely a
understand it.
way.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and funny enough, with introverts, it kind of like, if you're doing a versus, just just straight intro, extra. Um, Once, like, extroverts will go a mile wide with their network and a foot deep, where introverts will go a foot wide and a mile deep. So like, once you know them, or once they know you, like, that you really have somebody who's in your corner.
Yep.
Introverts are more likely to listen, so they're going to pick up on what you're saying, and what you mean, or how you feel. Like they get that. And whereas extroverts, I'm not saying that they can, it's just like they're more likely to bounce from maybe conversation to conversation, spreading all the love, where the introvert is going to, like, have, you're going to have all their attention.
Hmm.
So that's I think that's cool. And so I think that they're way better at actual networking, because of the depth that they're willing to go to.
Yeah.
So yeah. What's kind of next for you? Like, whether it's work or personal, or what do you
Yeah.
have, coming up, or what are you looking at?
Yeah. So if anyone is from Pittsburgh or doesn't, right now I'm the morning meteorologist. So I was doing the noon, but we're actually hiring a fifth met, which is great. So if
Mhm.
anyone's just watching this and they happen to be a meteorologist, we
Okay.
are searching.
Yeah. Okay. Good.
Yeah, but it's like for me right now, like like I mentioned, became a mom a little later. I guess the outside the norm of what people would call
Yeah.
being a mom. So for me, it's just really like balancing work and home life, because uh, before, my life was work and I was okay with that, like loved it,
Sure.
thrived on it.
Hmm.
Well, now I'm just in a different phase in my life. So now it's like being the best mom and, working, which are two of my passions, Hayden. And then, I love what I do, because everyone's always like, oh, you probably just want to be done getting up early. And I'm like, no, I have the best job ever, because he's sleeping through most of my work shift. So it's
Right.
like,
Yeah.
it's great. But what's next is, hey, hopefully I can retire in Pittsburgh, and, or if something comes up, you just never know what life's going to throw you.
Right.
So
100%.
who knows? Like,
Yeah.
I love where I'm at now, like
Yeah.
right now, but yeah, you just never know. Maybe my husband will get a job somewhere.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Yeah.
somewhere else. But yeah, I don't know. It's just everything, like Bobby and I are both like, good. And it's like a breather. So yeah.
And I think it's important that, that so many people are like, well, what's next? What's next? What's next? Um, is, when you don't know, like, it's good to be present as
Hmm.
well, and appreciate what you have going. And it sounds clearly like you do, like,
Yeah.
you want to be done. No, I love doing what I do. I love being a mom as well, and it works out
Yeah.
that that he's
And I
sleeping
don't think
through
that's,
most of that.
yeah, and I don't think it's settling either. Like I always, people are like, are you sick? Because I grinded for so long, and it's like, I'm just really happy where I'm at right now. And if I get unhappy, then that's where I'm going to kind of
Mhm.
assess the situation. But
Yeah.
I'm just really happy, like work wise, family wise, just everything is like aligned. It's like, I'm just, you're right, present. This is where I'm supposed to be. And it is true. Like the second you don't like, there's going to be times like not everyone loves their job 100%. It's just
Right.
like,
Yeah. You got parts. Sure.
yeah, you have ups and downs, but
Yeah.
like, if and we always talk about this too at home, like if it ever gets to the point where I just like, I can't do this anymore,
Mhm.
then that's when you need to start looking. But I'm not there. I don't know if I ever will be there, and I'll be thankful if I'm not.
Yeah.
But yeah, so everything's good. Just chilling.
Well, and I think, and I think you said it, being, you're happy, and the, it could be the people that are questioning you aren't,
Mhm.
like not truly, and
Yeah.
not, they haven't spent time thinking about it, and
Mhm.
being grateful, and looking at their life, and what have I done to put me here, and like I worked my ass off to get to here,
Mhm.
and so am I set, like, no, like, this is where I was working to get to. So
Yeah.
how am I settling? How would I not want to do this? And at some point, yeah, you will, because you'll be in a different season of life where
Yeah.
it's not this anymore. And where your boy will be old enough to go play little league, and
Yeah.
so that's going to take your attention,
Yeah.
and you're going to want to go be part of that, and on and on, and whatever comes up with your husband, or what opportunities come up for you
Yeah.
from all the networking that you do.
And
um
well, I
you
was
know
going to say too, like with networking, like if folks may be watching this and say, man, but I am one of those people that's not happy. And I'm one of those, like, maybe it is me. And it's like,
yeah,
sometimes too, when you're at these events or you're doing anything, or you're just talking to people, say at a family event, and someone new comes to the party or wherever you may be, and they talk about what they do. And that might seem interesting. Maybe that's just that little spark you need, hearing what other people do, saying, that kind of does interest me.
yeah,
Maybe. And I think too, it's okay when you meet people to just, if that sparks you, just like, hey, do you mind send an email, whatever way of communicating. Do you mind maybe can I take 10 minutes out of your day and just kind of, you mind giving me some more information about your career? Cause I'm
yeah,
curious, and
yeah.
maybe what can I do to,
Mhm.
not so much like give me a job. It's more of like, let me
Right.
know what your day to day is, and let me
Yeah,
know, like, kind of like, how'd you get there kind of thing. What would I need to do if this is something I'm interested in?
yeah,
So I think
yeah,
that's like always nice too. You might learn something new that you never thought you could be interested in.
yeah. Oh, for sure. And it's interesting that you say that. It's like a lot of times people in a position. Ashley, would you mind doing it? Like,
Yeah.
I was asking you for a favor. You don't owe me anything, but you were willing to do it, and you see where I'm coming from, and all that, and people are, more times than not, people are willing to give you some time.
Yeah.
Especially if it's in your field. Like, I show interest in your field, something that I'm considering that I'd like to do, or just got questions or something. You're giving that person the chance to kind of, and I use this loosely, but kind of show off. Like, here's what I know about my industry. Here's what I know about my
Yeah.
job or my career. And I can give you the basics, and I can walk you through the whole thing. Like, what do you
Yeah.
want? A lot of times, I think people forget that there's people that are willing to do that. People that have made it know what it's like to make it, and
Yeah.
where that kind of started for them. So, like, paying it forward, which is just, essentially starting at the beginning,
Yeah.
or
And you
helping
can't
somebody
be,
else start at the beginning.
yeah, you can't be afraid to ask.
Yeah. Yeah,
Like,
for sure.
and you ask, or like, even if something like we always say this at work too, like, if something's bothering us at work, and you go in and talk to your boss, and they'll be like, I had no idea. It's because you never said anything.
Right.
It's like,
Yeah.
nobody's a mind reader. So you kind of like,
Communication, right? And in
yeah,
any
you
in
got to
any
communicate.
relationship.
Yeah. So it's like, whether it's that, if you're, trouble at work, or something's bothering you, you go in, and there's a right way to approach it.
Yeah. Right. Well,
um,
sure. Yeah.
yeah. But like, it's just, or if you're interested in something, like, you can't be afraid to ask. If you can't be afraid of no. Like,
Mhm.
people are so afraid, oh, they're just going to say no. It's like, you should never assume what people think,
Oh
Like,
no, boy. Oh boy.
9 times out of 10, people are really happy to help.
Yeah.
or give advice or,
Yep.
you know.
That's definitely what I
Yeah.
found too.
Mhm.
So, I mean, we really, like, I think we kind of got there, but like, is there, this has been great for one,
Yeah.
like, I appreciate your time, and we kind of went over what we had talked about, but I can't thank you enough. Is there anything that you'd like to share outside of your job posting,
Yeah. Yeah, I know,
at the
right?
station? But is there
No, but
any parting thoughts, I guess?
no, I think we talked about everything, and
Yeah.
it was great to talk to you.
Yeah,
God.
yeah, no, it's been 100% my pleasure. So I thank you for that, and I'm gonna let you go. So
Okay. Hey, it was
um,
nice chatting.
yeah, again, all my pleasure. So, folks, if you have enjoyed this, please, as you're watching this, comment. If you're listening to this, because it will be audio, also please comment, share. Ashley is a great person. Go watch her on WTAE in Pittsburgh, Channel 4 locally.
Mhm.
Again, she's just fantastic, and make sure
You're
that you're
too kind.
supporting, especially if you're in Pittsburgh. Make sure you go and support her and her causes and all that jazz. But until then, hope you had a great one. Talk to you real soon.